Hello everyone! Today I'm going to talk you through the process of animating free animation memes, because since the new year I have been on an animation streak. Each animation, while all are 2D, were animated in unique ways, from frame by frame to tweening. Our first animation meme features a character running in either front or three-quarter view. And on the left side of the screen, images of the character's love interest pop up. The meme is basically about character A running to help character B. At least that's what I've gathered from it. For this meme, I thought it would be fun to animate my comfort anime, The Disastrous Life of Saiki K, a comedy anime about a high schooler who since birth has had these overpowered psychic powers. Now you might think Saiki uses them to get popularity and fame, however instead he uses them to make himself stand out as little as possible, as all he craves is a quiet and normal life. This anime is really funny and I enjoy it a lot. For this animation meme, there's a character in the anime called Teruhashi, and basically she is the perfect pretty girl who attracts the attention of every single guy she comes across. All except for Saiki, as he doesn't get the appeal of romance, and because he sees how much attention Teruhashi gets, he tries to avoid her as much as possible. However, because Saiki is the only one who ignores her and treats her differently, Teruhashi develops feelings for Saiki and wants to make him fall for her. Her dynamic is really funny to watch on screen. While I don't really ship these two characters, I thought they would be great for this animation meme. My idea was to have Teruhashi running and chasing this idolized version of Saiki in her head, as the way she views him isn't actually what Saiki's like. In this time-lapse, you can see me animating Teruhashi as I sorta just dived into this meme, without much planning. But because it's pretty simple, I just went with the flow for this one. When animating, I normally draw out the character's form to try and only focus on how their body will move in motion. Then I will add secondary action like how Teruhashi's clothes or hair reacts to her running. Breaking up the character movement like this definitely makes the whole process a lot simpler. While animating this, it was for sure Teruhashi's hair and skirt that gave me the most trouble. I don't know why I have so much trouble animating skirts, but I should really do some studies. Maybe for a future video I can do some animation studies? Teruhashi's hair was both a little bit of trouble, as you can see on the time-lapse, and a lot of fun once I got the general motion down. I tried to follow the seaweed method for animating her hair, and I tried to think about how the hair would bob up and down as she runs. After the line art is finished, because I draw in Clip Studio Paint's vector layers, I use the vector eraser to help with cleanup. Basically, it will erase a stroke until it hits another line, which is great for tidying up overlapping line art. Then, on a separate layer, I draw out very thin lines for color separation and cell shading. This helps keep the color changes for the animation consistent. When I first started out, I would just draw the shading as I animated each frame, but that got very messy and the shading would be very inconsistent between frames. So drawing in color separation lines helps so much of the coloring process. It also dawned on me that I didn't record myself drawing Saiki, however all I did was redraw some iconic frames of him from the anime in my art style, like the annoyed face, or that one time he heard Teruhashi approaching him through telepathy, who was on her way to find Saiki and give him a ticket for a day out. However, Saiki wanted to avoid Teruhashi that badly, he climbed out the school window and used his hands to grab the ledge so he wouldn't fall. And of course, Teruhashi's ticket that she was going to give Saiki nearly blew out the same window, causing her to just see Saiki dangling there. The anime is so goofy, and after some animating and compositing, the first animation meme is finished. After I finished this meme, I swore to myself to calm down a little bit, as I had created 2 animation memes in the span of just a few days. This ever meme I sadly didn't record the process of, but for those who are curious, I animated my OC Livia here frame by frame in Clip Studio Paint. I also drew the sprites of her in the same software, then for these 2 animations of her, created this quick 2D puppet rig in Blender. Speaking of animating things in Blender, one day I was scrolling on social media and of course, yet again, I saw another animation trend going around, and at first I wasn't going to do it, but I caved. However, this time I wanted to create an animation meme of another anime that I really like, called Mob Psycho 100, which is a show about a middle schooler, Shigeo Kageyama, who was born with psychic powers. He has a goal to become stronger without relying on his powers, to be able to ask out his childhood friend, who is extremely popular, Tsubomi. Mob also works part-time for his mentor doing exorcism jobs. His mentor, Reagan Arataka, who totally has spiritual powers by the way, and would never lie about anything. Reagan strives to be popular and famous. He has also got to be one of the best anime characters ever. He's just super funny, and Reagan and Mob's relationship is super heartwarming. And the separation arc in season 2 absolutely emotionally destroyed me. The show really focuses on growing as a person, how people are able to grow and change, and not to mention the animation and the fight scenes are so good. I adore this show and I slept on it for so long it's not even funny. Anyways, for this meme, basically it features a character or characters doing a little dance, and I thought I would animate Mob, Reagan, and Dimple, who is an evil spirit. He also has some questionable ideals and goals, but he's so goofy. I feel like Reagan wanting to be popular would cave into internet trends, had this show taken place during the current modern day, where the internet is unescapable, and Reagan would make Mob and Dimple join in for fun, even though Dimple cannot be captured on camera. For this meme, I wanted to experiment with tweening in Blender. So after storyboarding in Krita, I drew out the characters piece by piece in separate grease pencil layers. But instead of creating an armature like I normally do when I rig, I decided to use pivot points of each piece and use them to rotate the character's limbs. Then I would parent that to another piece. For an example, for Mob here, his hand's pivot point is where his wrist would be, then his hand is parented to his forearm, which the pivot point for that is placed where his elbow would be. Then his forearm is parented to his upper arm, which the pivot point for that is where his shoulder would be. And then his upper arm is parented to his torso. Then, I swear I'm going somewhere with this, when you rotate his arm, the pieces move like an actual arm would. This method is really quick for more simpler projects like this, and shot 1 is complete. For animating Reagan, I used a storyboard sketch and drew him into separate grease pencil objects to help with tweening. I didn't draw his full arm as you wouldn't be able to see it in the camera view, so he kinda looks like he just has 2 floating arms. As Reagan moves, I used Blender's sculpt tools to increase his smirk and to smear his hands to make the animation look a little less rigid. And because I used the sculpt tool to help budge over some vertices that make up this drawing, I interpolated the vertices movement to help smooth things out. And here is shot 2. For shot 3, Mob points his fingers back and forth, and since the movement was really going to be in his forearm, hand and head, I made the torso and upper arm only one piece, and the other 3 separate. With the pivot points in place, I animated Mob. When it came to animating his hands moving back and forth, I used Blender's sculpt tools, which is basically the liquify tool in other art programs, to add a little bit of movement to his finger to give it a little bit of bounce. I also sculpted his hair slightly as well. And finally, frame 4, Dimple. He kind of intimidated me to animate with his wavy body, but I decided to draw it out as a separate grease pencil object from his face and arms. Then I added a wave distortion effect to his body, and then I proceeded to draw out the rest of him, giving it closely to how he looks in the anime. Then I animate him floating up and down to give the illusion that he's levitating. Originally he was going to wear sunglasses, but I thought it obscured that fed up of Reagan expression he has, and so I chose to go without it. Finally, with all of the animation complete and some quick compositing in Krita and DaVinci Resolve, the second animation meme is finished. Alas, we are here, the final animation meme that I'm going to be talking about today. I've talked you through animating frame by frame in Clip Studio Paint, creating an armature in Blender to create a 2D puppet rig in the meme about my OC Livia, drawing the characters in Blender, but instead of animating them with an armature, I used the grease pencil object's pivot point to act as the character's joints, and then I would parent each piece to allow them to follow each other and bend as intended once moved. So what could I do differently this time? I thought my OC Aaron would fit well into this animation meme, as they're the only one out of the main cast of my OC project that I haven't made a solo animation meme for, even though they are the main protagonist of my series. It's not that they have anything to animate about, quite the opposite actually. I just couldn't make up my mind. About the meme I chose, normally it features a character or several appearing a bunch of times on the screen, changing character or pose if it's just one character 4 times. That's basically it more or less. For the main segment of the meme, I thought I would draw Eren going through 4 phases, inspired by some situations they face in the story as the series progresses. Eren starts off very hopeful and happy before becoming almost unrecognisable to who they start off as Eren will go through a lot. Also, I thought I would draw in a couple of scenes that will take place in my series just for fun. And while I sketch this meme in Krita, I'm going to ramble a little about my series. But first, I should probably recap on what this project is about. One of the Powerful stars our main character, Aaron Independ. The world in this story is divided in two. People who have magical abilities are called powerful, and people who don't are called powerless. Due to some conflict in the past, powerless, who are the majority of the world's population, despise powerful, both having their own territories as a way to cease further conflict. The territories have existed for as long as anyone can remember, and why this hatred for powerful continues to burn has been distorted and lost to time. Powerless see them as cursed beings, only existing to harm the peace. Our main protagonist, Aaron, is a powerful born in powerless territory, which is bad because of the whole ongoing conflict. If any powerful is caught in this territory, they're apprehended and taken away along with their family. Aaron's childhood friend Azur falling victim to this, taken away never to be seen again. So once Aaron is all grown up, they decide to cross the border to venture to this prestigious art school based on Seaside Island in Powerful territory, alongside their friend Cassidy, who is also a powerful and has her own reasons for tagging along. Along this journey to Seaside, Aaron and Cassidy meet Hoshi and a whole bunch of other characters. This is the plot of the series for the first 2 seasons, which is around 14 episodes. During this though, there are some hints to some sinister things playing in the background, as you learn more about the characters and the world they live in. And then, when season 3 comes along, is when the real story begins, which is what this animation is based on. I've internally been fighting myself for years at this point about my series. It was originally going to start out as a comic, but then I got into animation, so I really wanted to turn it into an animation series, but I don't know if you know this, animation is a lot of work. Especially since this is such a gigantic project. For reference, the outline that details the overall plot, some scripts here and there if I really get into the flow and I need to get some character dialogue onto paper, is around 80,000 words in total. It took me a very long time to rewrite and polish the outline. Even now I'm coming up with some minor stuff that I want to add in here and there, and I don't know if animating this project the way I originally wanted is even possible. Part of me's like, after I release episode 1, which I am devoted to animating or at least having it in some form of animatic state, don't you worry. The storyboarding is taking a while, as I learned on my last animated project to take your time during this process. But if I revert back to my comic idea, I'm basically just going back to square one, as I do love comics. Growing up I used to watch a lot of comics on YouTube, funny enough. But I love animation a lot more. And mostly, if not all my audience is on this platform, and redirecting people off platform can be tricky. I've been debating with myself for ages on what to do after episode 1, and I'm still figuring it out, so just take what I say here with a grain of salt, as I won't make my final decision until episode 1 is complete. However, part of me has thought, why don't I just make a motion comic with some tweened or frame-by-frame animation? That way it's kind of a middle ground of both worlds. But again, there's no final decision yet, and episode 1 is still going to be animated. It's just an idea. I might make some animatic tests in this comic animated format just to see how it goes. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Would you still be interested if this project was a motion comic instead? As I absolutely adore this series, and back when I was burned out, I creatively was in a bit of a dark place, and I started to lose faith in this project, and myself. But now I'm much, much better. This project has many flaws, and parts of it makes me cringe in a way. The story is super angsty with a heavy focus on family and hardships, but now that I think about it, this project has been with me for such a long time, and there's just so much of me in this project. The characters, the stories, all inspired by fiction and music, and situations I've been in or thought about growing up. And if I could choose a series that is everything I love in fiction combined into one story, One of the Powerful would be it. Whenever I doubt myself with this project, I like to think this is what my inner child would have wanted. Like when I was younger, the quiet, awkward art kid in school who struggled to find their way in the world. And this is the sort of project that I would have dreamed of making. It's my little part of myself that I want to share with the world. And thinking about this project being made for my inner child really helps me continue on. And I never want to be the version of myself who gave up on this project because I was just crippled with self-doubt or I thought it was just too hard and ambitious to make. I want to be the me who figured out a way to share this project with the world. as during my life's journey I've been inspired by so many pieces of fiction, video games, music, comics, animation, and I want to return the favour and show people that you can do it too. And a big part of why I wanted to make it is for my inner child. It's what they would have wanted. Sorry I got a little rambly there. I adore this project and I'm super passionate about it. It's been going through some very exciting developments the past couple of years, from the plot completely being revamped to being much better and polished. I've also been developing the world and the backgrounds, as well as the characters. Fun fact, the whole reason why I learned Blender in the first place was because of this project. I learned 2D puppet rigging in Blender, even though Blender's not really built for it in mind, and there's such limited resources about it online. I learned how to create 3D models and textures to help create backgrounds for the project quicker and with more details. And with this animation meme, I wanted to experiment in Blender once again. You might have noticed that I drew Eren in different pieces, and that's because I'm going to import the Krita drawings into Blender as planes and tween the vertices around to create motion. This is probably how I would consider animating some stuff that aren't characters who already have a puppet rig created. But before we get into the Blender stuff, for one of the shots of the animation, I had to paint a background of a statue in front of this fancy building, which is introduced during Season 2. It's a fancy decorative item, don't worry about it. But I had so much fun painting this, as I haven't drawn this area of Seaside Island yet. I've only imagined it vaguely in my head, and yeah, it's a first pass for sure. This area will get more development for when Season 2 comes around, but I think I got the point with this painting across. I also painted a more close-up shot of the statue, and sometimes you spend so much time animating of cell shading, you kind of forget, oh yeah, I could render too! Digital painting is a lot of fun, and I'm very proud of the lighting and the texturing here. I apologise for my OC rambling, I just get very excited talking about my silly little guys. And here we go, onto animating these frames in Blender. So for how I animated Eren, for the first frame I imported all the separate pieces I drew of them by selecting Import Images as Planes. Then I use the Edge Loop tool to cut around the pieces. I import another plane and add a lot of subdivisions. Then I delete the faces only and convert this plane as a curve. I then select the plane and shift select a piece of Eren. Go into edit mode, select mesh and knife project. Eren has a lot of vertices that I can now move around and animate. Rinse and repeat this for every single piece of Eren. I also use the 3D cursor to move the pivot point to Eren's joints for each layer, and finally, I add a shape key, which basically allows me to tween between the original shape of Eren and the new one I create once I use Blender Sculpt tools to move around the vertices. A lot of this probably sounds very complicated if you aren't already familiar with Blender, however I thought I would share my process a little for how I created this. I also set my frame rate for 10 frames per second as I just like to animate with a lower frame rate. Then I set a keyframe for all of Eren's layers starting on frame 1 and the final one on frame 10. I also have the shape key's value set for 0 on frame 1 and 1 on frame 10. When the shape key is set to 1 you can see the distortion I made to Eren's vertices. With all of the prep work finally completed, Eren is ready to animate. I then go into frame 10, start to rotate Eren's body a little to give them some motion, adding some extra flexibility by sculpting the vertices to avoid Eren looking too rigid. This is what I did for each of the 4 Eren frames, even for the extra drawings I made for this meme. These 2 characters smiling, Eren looking angry in this shot. Animating like this is a lot more quicker and flexible, however the downside is the image quality. Because these are exported as a PNG, if you zoom into them too much you can see the pixels. We're a grease pencil object which is made of vectors, so the lines you draw will always have a high quality. Since I have the footage, some highlights of animating the Eren lore scenes, I guess we can call it, was this scene for Eren and the mysterious figure behind him. This mysterious figure, while they do have a name, I cannot share that sadly at this point in time, but they are a very simple rig made up of their torso, forearms and hands, which I scale and rotate to make it look as if they're looming above Eren, preparing to grab them. This character's design is a work in progress, so what you see of them here isn't anything final. For animating Eren in this shot, I sculpt the vertices upwards on their face to make it look as if Eren's looking up, as they drop their shoulders looking helpless. Also, whenever I've shared this design of Eren before, some people have wondered what the device on Eren's right ear is. Is it some hearing support device? For this shot of Erin's arm on the ground, there is a blood puddle, and this is a reused asset from one of my previous projects where I animated this blood puddle in Blender by sculpting the vertices to give it that smooth movement. I import the frames into Krita and then add some layer styles. Anyway, oh boy, that was a lot of technical talk in OC Rambles. I apologise that this video kind of went all over the place. And finally, here is the meme of Erin. After I make animations, I will post them and rewatch them a bunch. I just enjoy seeing that all my time and effort went into something, and guys, I messed up. It wasn't until after I posted this animation meme that I noticed something, just as I was about to fall asleep. I want to see if you can spot it. Did you see it? Let me just zoom in just a little bit. I forgot to export Erin's hair strand in Blender. That day of animating this meme in Blender, I worked non-stop until the evening, and when you get super absorbed in a project, oversights tend to happen, such as a key detail to Erin's design. A detail that I drew and animated in Blender. I forgot to export the layer for it. Just a single button press, and it was already too late because I posted it and that mistake will have to live with me forever. Let's just say I couldn't sleep very well that night. The thought of that hair strand haunts me. Now I learned the hard way that even if I'm obsessed with a project to the point where I struggle to take breaks, even though my body is in a lot of pain, take them, or else stuff like this will happen. If you want to see the animation memes in their original glory, the link is down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time.